Good evening or good afternoon, whichever you prefer. Welcome back to the channel. The Red Devils Africa podcast continues. In times of old, in a more glorious, perhaps a more glorious Manchester United era, this fixture would be a simple one. It's Norwich versus Manchester United, the preview, the look ahead. This fixture should be a winnable game, but as we've seen many times towards the latter half of 2019, it's just not that simple with this Manchester United team. Looking at the forms of both teams, we have Manchester United coming into this one with 2 losses, 1 draw and 2 wins from the last 5, all competitions. And Norwich haven't won a game against a top-flight team in a while, actually. Their last win coming from, I think it was Preston, in the Carabao Cup then. And they've lost 2, and they've drawn 2 in their last 5. And then the 1 win against Preston. So, gentlemen, how are your confidence levels going into this game?
Oof. At an all-time low. We've had some bad times, but this by far has been the worst ever time as a United fan. This it felt like we've hit rock bottom, and it feels like we're going to get even worse.
Yeah,
Gloomy.
I agree.
Sounds gloomy. Sounds really gloomy there.
I agree. I'm just not confident at all. I feel like I'm at a point where I can't say United are going to win games. So that just says a lot.
Yeah, it's a difficult time as a Manchester United fan. I feel like I say this every episode, but more so now than ever. You look at this Norwich side, it's a team that we should be beating, even with their form taken into consideration. There's nothing they have to offer us. But with United, you just never know. It's a fragile Manchester United. It's a United that doesn't really have any depth. Harry Maguire is out for a month, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So we're short-staffed. We're short-staffed, and we're not looking like signing anyone in the transfer window.
The club is in a panic. It's in an absolute panic. And with the Maguire thing, the comments that are coming out of the club is that at halftime of that game is that he was starting to feel like cramp was in there. And they said that because Maguire has a high pain threshold, he played through the pain. And I'm just like, that's just so amateurish. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those things you look at and you say, like, of course a player is going to want to go and play out. Of course they're going to want to go and do whatever they need to do for the team, but you don't let them. So,
yeah,
you've got to manage your players.
Yeah, the fact that Ole feels like he can let that happen just shows where we are as a club. We don't have an adequate backup to Maguire, so Maguire has to play through the pain. It's absolutely insane. And our defense struggled a lot in the last game without Maguire. He's off form, but he's much better than Phil Jones, so I'm worried. Yeah,
an off form Harry Maguire is definitely better than a Phil Jones, even on form, some would argue. But there's a lot of issues in and around the club, and I want to bring your attention specifically to the management. Do you guys think that Ole could get sacked if he goes on to lose this game, and perhaps a few more after that?
I feel like, there's so much panic and commotion around the club, especially now. It just looks panicky everywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised Oli does get the sack. I'm not saying that, if we bring Poch in, it's going to sort all our problems out. I think it's a start. But I don't think it's going to help us all the time. And, 2 years after Poch, if we're sitting back here and saying the same things about what we're saying about Oli, about Poch, where does that leave us? It's just another 2 years wasted, and 2 years that the Glazers and this ownership gets protection.
Well, you've got to start somewhere. Change has to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree that sacking Oli is definitely the right decision.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Not likely, but I think it's possible. I think the squad is very thin at the moment, so results could go really bad. And Edward won't stand for us losing 6 games in a row and getting thrashed. He won't stand for that. As bad as he is, we've seen that he can fire managers. So I think it's very possible that he can get fired.
And look, also what I would say, based on what a lot of people have to say about the Glazers and Ed Woodward, they're not very popular guys in the Manchester United community, at least not on one half. So what I would say to that is I don't trust these guys to fully be loyal to a manager anyways.
Yeah.
I understand that Ole is a club legend. I understand that Ole, in some people's eyes, can do no wrong. But you're looking at a team that is run by people who are literally, and I mean literally, only interested in the financial gains involved in the team. They've done it with with another organization in the US. By the way, it was a hockey team. I forget what the name was,
Yeah,
but the Glazers have
I've
done
heard
this
about it.
before. It's not the
Um,
first time we're seeing them milk a club dry. And so when you take people like that and you put them in charge of a club and you get a message coming down from them that they're behind a manager, you're like, I don't trust it. Like you can't possibly trust it. These guys are snakes, in my opinion. And I wouldn't be surprised if they turn their back on Ollie, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is making the bank, and they won't make the bank if Manchester United go on a losing streak and the club
Exactly.
goes into complete turmoil. So I can
Exactly.
see Ole
They will
Gunnar
do-
Solskjaer getting sacked.
Yeah,
I
they will
can.
do everything to do to protect Man United as a brand. They will do everything.
Yeah,
They know
and
if
They
the
don't
things are
care about
toxic,
that.
they will sack Oli, leave him
And
out there
also-
in the street and bring in Poch just to get some positive and some more social
Yeah.
media interaction and all of that.
And also, I would add on top of that you look at what Ollie represents for the board and for the ownership of Manchester United. He's a shield for them. So if the shield has been exposed, if the shield is not doing its job anymore, what's the point of keeping it? Because
Worthless.
Ollie's getting exposed. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
worthless. Ollie is getting exposed. Like, if Ollie continues to say that the club is backing him, but he's losing games that he should be winning, we're going to be looking at the club like, mate, why are you backing this guy? So
Yeah.
I can see him getting sacked very easily, especially if he goes on and loses to Norwich,
Mhm.
and a few
Definitely.
games after that, as I said. But anyways, shall we get to the predicted teams then for this game?
Oh, yeah.
There's
Well,
it
short
isn't
stuff.
anything mind blowing. It isn't anything
Short
mind blowing.
stuff.
We've spoken about Phil Jones. I think it's pretty clear in the community that he shouldn't have gotten an opportunity to extend his contract. He's a player that shouldn't be playing for Manchester United anymore. And the fact that he's gotten a contract extension is mind-blowing, and now he's here. He's our only option on that left side.
Legit. Everyone's
How do you guys
injured.
feel about that?
Everyone is freaking injured in this team. And we don't have any squad depth whatsoever. Everything is just poor. But you reap what you sow, and this is the situation we're in right now. We knew it. The club, I would like to say they saw it coming, but obviously, with
Yeah.
the incompetence, I'm not surprised that they didn't. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty standard, no midfielders really. Jones has to play because not even Axel is back fit. Maguire is now injured. Who else do you play?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that defensive setup scares me. Like, it gives me nightmares. I feel like
Giving you anxiety.
we used to struggle to a low block already, and they would counter and score. With Phil Jones back there, oh my gosh. Like, it's after City, I just don't know what to expect from that back line. So I'm very worried. And like, for a team of our stature, or a club of our stature, the fact that we're not even looking to sign players, it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
and we
everything
know it's
coming
not
out-
like we have
Yeah.
Godly De Gea at the moment. We have a De Gea who's like, his head's a bit gone.
In decline.
Yeah, it's in decline.
In
We don't have our God tier De Gea who can just beat one man.
Yeah.
You know them weight when you see on pairs, bro. Like, you just see in decline. Not
That
even,
red
not
arrow
even
down.
prospect, not even
Arrow
like
down.
still developing, not even in
Yeah.
peak, in decline, which means he's heading towards retirement.
Yeah.
That's David
Like,
De Gea at the moment.
whoever's still in denial about the Glazers leaking us dry is delusional, honestly. Because how do you let go of so many midfielders and not sign anyone? Like, it's absolutely insane.
Also, there's evidence for it. I mean, there's reports. I mean, it's not really concrete evidence because none of us work at the club and we'll never really know. But there's credible sources coming out of the club, and there's lots of news tabloids around the world. Literally, you can Google it. That there's a lot of money being leaked from the club. I think the Glazers have made like 89 million pounds in the last 6 years of Manchester
And they
United.
pulled out 9 million recently as well. They pulled out.
Yeah,
Pulled out.
so it's undeniable that these guys are clearly here for the financial gain of Manchester United, and I don't blame them for being in it financially. But what I would say is it's actually disgusting what they've done to the club, and it doesn't make sense when you really sit down and think about it. Because if the club does well on the pitch, then you do well on the marketing side of things. Like,
Exactly.
Chevrolet ain't putting their stuff on Manchester United because they love Manchester United. They're doing it so that the people who come to the ground can see the Chevrolet on the team shirt and be like, hey, I might want to buy a Chevy Spark, or I might want to buy a Chevy. And that's what they don't get. If they neglect the fan base and they neglect the reason why they have so many fans, which is the football, it's counterproductive. It's counterintuitive.
Exactly. And if this team was successful on the pitch, you start associating your other brands
Those
of
brands.
success. Like, when I think if United were like in Liverpool's form, and I have to think of Chevrolet, I'm associating it to United, and then I'm associating that to success. It's like when we think of New Balance now, I think like,
Marketing
yeah,
101.
what a brand, because Liverpool are freaking, they're doing everything on the field. It's mad.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's also simple marketing. And for guys who are
It's
busy like the
advertised. It's
Glazers,
marketing.
it's
Yeah, bro,
ridiculous
it's marketing.
that they don't understand. If you get performances on the pitch, you will be successful financially. You look at Liverpool now. New Balance is gone. Nike is coming in. Nike is like the dream sponsor, and it's
Pretty
just
much.
ridiculous.
Yeah, like it's disgusting how they're going about it, because it shows that they just don't care. They don't give a shit. They want to try it leak it for everything they can and just leave.
Yeah, that's the owners we have. That's the owners we have, and I wouldn't be surprised if it came to a situation where you look in black and white and there's some sort of loophole that protects them. Like, so if the club gets liquidated, I don't think we'll go that far, but I'm just saying, if the club goes into a situation where it needs to be sold and these guys can't like run it anymore because of the money situation, they'll probably still be protected. Like, the debt won't be their responsibility, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, I can
Whoever
easily see them
else.
getting away with it.
Yeah.
So
Just
it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad times. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the Glazers. That's a story for another day. Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, they've been in good nick, but even they are starting to lose their heads, I feel. Whether that has to do with the personnel next to them, in particular Lindelof, is a debate for another day. The point is, Harry Maguire is not there, and he's got Jones next to him, and we've seen how bad that is in the City game. Lindelof isn't the type of guy who's going to take charge. He needs someone next to him who's going to take charge so he can play more of a supporting role. If you're asking him to take charge, if you're asking him to go for the balls, if you're asking him to go for the 50-50s full on so that if he gets a yellow card, then he can back off and let the other guy do it, it's not going to happen, I don't think, with Victor Lindelof. He's not that character. So with Jones and him there, it's a recipe for disaster. And all I would say about Aaron Wan-Bissaka is, look, I like him. I think he's a really good player. But I think he's starting to creep into a bit of bad form at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him, because you can only carry a back four for so long.
Yeah. To be honest, I'd rather have Matthews than Jones in that back line.
I'm actually like if Matic plays,
that
I'll even feel better. That's how crazy this season has become. Like if Matic plays, I'll feel more protected.
Yeah, his positioning seems better than Jones.
Do you think? Actually, no, that's a terrible idea. I was gonna mention a back three, but it wouldn't even work. We don't have the personnel. We don't have a third centre back.
I don't have anyone in this.
Yeah,
we don't have a third centre back. That sentence says everything. We don't have a third centre.
Because I mean, you could do it with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Like, I'm all for Aaron Wan-Bissaka playing in the middle with Lindelof, but then the whole point of a back three is to get rid of Jones, and we don't have anyone to get rid of Jones. He has to play. So back three, back four, if Jones is in there. And
even if we did play less defenders, we don't even have a midfielder then to bring on as well.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
We'd have Mata, so we'd play Andreas.
I will have Mata, but you can only play for so long.
That's true. Lingard off the bench?
No, please. Like that, I'll put Andreas at attacking mid, because I actually have hope that there's no ways Lingard Lingard must never ever come back to United. He mustn't come back in Manchester. You just know.
Mr. Shawnee, I've heard this all before. Lingard's going to keep getting picked.
Lingard off the bench is basically two subs.
Even Lingard, there's a sub has to come.
Look, I think with Jesse Lingard, it's just the case of, well, probably you could make the argument that it's a lack of personnel, but then you could also make the argument that Ollie's just a romantic, isn't he? He loves his players. He loves his players, and he's going to keep picking them if he loves them. He's one of those managers, like Lingard played well.
I would rather play a man down than play with Lingard.
We all would. I think we all would. But, we're not Ollie, and Ollie's not us. And Ollie's the guy who's charged at the moment. Yeah.
He said we were even a Man City in the first half. Yeah, he actually thinks we're even in the first half.
When it comes to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think he lacks press experience, and I think he just lacks a backbone, to be honest, about what's happening on the pitch. I think the Mr. Positive stuff is really getting annoying now. It's more like Mr. Delusional now, because he's just lying through his teeth. That's not what optimism is. If you're an optimistic person, it's about finding the positives. That first half against City, there was no positives. I'm sorry, there was no positives. If you're an optimist and that hurts you to the core, there was nothing to be optimistic about. That's the point we're trying to make. And this guy is bordering along delusional, like we weren't even with Manchester City. We know this. Like after every game, Oli comes out and says something that has no correlation or no resonance with what actually happened on the field. We know this. It's like he's watching a different Manchester United side. Like what we get on TV is not what's actually happening at Old Trafford.
You can't always be positive for fuck's sakes. Like, what kind of team functions like that?
You can't. It's not even about like always being. You can be positive all the time, but at some point you've got to look at the negatives and be like, there are negatives. Like you got to look at the problems and solve them. You know, like I'm not a fan of Oli smiling after losing to Arsenal, but to be honest with you, I couldn't care less what Oli does after the Arsenal game as long as he goes in that dressing room and he gives those boys a talking to. That's what really matters. And so if he's smiling in the dressing room, that's a problem.
Exactly, but we don't know. Like, and I wouldn't believe that Oli goes in there and goes ruthless against these guys. I legit can picture Oli going in and be like, boys, unlucky. Go try your best in the second half. Go take the game.
Can't even imagine it. You can even imagine Oli having a go at Rashford.
Probably not.
And you know, that's the thing. Like, if we look at this predicted team here, obviously, no Maguire. And Young isn't going to play, so we don't really have a captain. And you know, Young looks like he's on his way out. And you look at Rashford, like Rashford, I would think was going to get the captain armband here. So there's again, it's just no leaders in this team.
Captain Jones. I see in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer having a go at the players is the same sort of thing I see in an English teacher or any teacher of any subject, actually, for that matter, who the class just doesn't take seriously. Like the teacher's trying to take hold of the classroom and everyone's just having a good laugh. Like, okay, are you done? Are you done? That's the vibe I get with Oli. He doesn't have the presence, and it's his fault because he came in as Mr. Nice Guy and Mr. Positive, and that's the vibe he's created in the dressing room. And so you don't just snap your fingers and then all of a sudden your players respond to you getting mad, because the vibe and the energy and the chemistry you create around your team in terms of your persona around the team when they lose and when they win doesn't just get shattered in one motivational speech. It doesn't. Yeah. It carries over, and it takes a long time to change that. It's kind of like the winning mentality. So at this point, I don't think it even matters if Oli tries to have a go at the players. I think they'll be looking at him like, okay.
They won't take him seriously.
They won't take him seriously. And also, even if they do take him seriously, passion doesn't win football games. Tactics do.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people have got to realize. Like, you look at this Manchester United team, right? And I'm going to be completely honest. Maybe not in the last game, but over the course of... Actually, let's just look specifically at the last game. The only players I saw who looked like they actually gave a damn about Manchester United in that game and were actually running their socks off was probably Fred. Maybe Wan-Bissaka, but Wan-Bissaka had a quiet game, so he didn't have the opportunity to do that. And he's a right back. There's only so much he can do. Yeah. Fred is the only guy. Perhaps no Man Matic, but you know he's slow. So.
I felt like Williams.
Williams as well, right? Williams gave heart, but like, ask yourself this question honestly. If Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, Andreas, Matic, Jones, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, William, I already mentioned William, sorry, and De Gea ran quicker and ran with more zest and were more passionate, would we have beat Manchester City? Probably not, because you need a bit more than passion. Like
you need tactics also.
Yeah, Fred running around wasn't enough against Manchester City.
Yeah.
You can run as hard as you want.
You can't play the occasion all the time and get away with it. You can't. You got to play the game.
Yeah. You got to play the game.
It's a game of tactics.
It is a game of tactics, and it's a game of results. And there's a lot of passion merchants out here who question a lot of the players' attitudes. Well, like Dan James runs a lot and he produces nothing off the right wing when he doesn't have space. That's just fact.
Rashford runs a lot. Martial.
Rashford runs a lot.
He's lazy, but he's a smart footballer, and people don't like Martial.
The only reason Rashford's a good argument is because he's got 17 goals. That's 4 best off Hazard's one of Hazard's best seasons. So Rashford's doing well. He's a good argument for the passion merchants, but everybody else is what has James actually done?
Exactly. No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, That's the thing that people don't realize. And the passion's a good thing. Wanting to play for your team is a good thing. I'm not taking that away, but you need more.
Because you
And
even
it's
start
just with
looking
Oli-
at like the
Yeah.
older players who had it, like De Gea. De Gea had passion. He was freaking captain at the beginning of the season. He went out of that game saying he was disappointed, it's not good enough. There's many problems, and they took it off him because that's not what
Yeah.
the club wanted to hear from him. And I think after
Exactly.
that, they just messed. I feel like, and I don't blame De Gea, but I feel like that also just messed with De Gea a lot. It's like, what, I signed a new contract and everything. I show my loyalty, and I get
Yeah.
treated like this.
Yeah.
Only question is doing this club.
Yeah. I actually question whether some of the players are still playing for Oli. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but I feel like the heads have dropped in that dressing
I feel
room.
like some, but I feel like you can only, like I said, it's not enough. Playing for Oli is just not going to be enough.
Yeah, but you look at sorry to cut you off, but you look at some of the games last season, right? Not last season, last year, pardon me. I think some of the games we won because the whole dressing room was playing for Oli. And yes, the counter-attacking worked, and it's been found out now, obviously. That plays a massive, massive part. But honestly, I genuinely do believe that those tactics only worked for Oli because James,
he had the
Martial,
full
Rashford
back.
were willing to run in hard, yeah. And
He had the full
Lingard
back.
was still in it. I
Like,
feel
if
like
you had-
now the heads have really dropped.
Yeah, like you look at this predicted lineup, I would say the people who don't play for Oli, probably Andreas, Matic,
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
De Gea probably doesn't care anymore because his captaincy got taken away. You even think about the guys who should come on, like Asian Gomez. Like if you throw Angel Gomez in, I wouldn't play for Oli. He completely disrespected me. Even Chong, completely. He speaks about with how good we are and stuff. Never gives us a chance.
It's funny
yeah.
you mentioned Angel Gomez because when he came on, I think he improved us drastically. The fact that a player who doesn't even play for the manager can improve a team says a lot about what skill actually means, as opposed to wanting to play for your
But
manager.
it also just shows how childish this club is gone and how the coaching is in Oli's. It's just freaking childish.
Yeah, I feel like just looking at the body language, I feel like the players are starting to doubt the coaching setup.
Definitely. I mean, Rashford came out in an interview and said Louis van Gaal was one of the only managers who ever influenced him positively. That's a massive statement to make when there's another manager in the dressing room, because the manager's going to watch that and say, hello, what about me? And it's like, sorry, mate, you're shit, but I can't say that because, you're my boss. So I'm just going to say it indirectly. And Marcus Rashford's having one of his best seasons, by the way, but he's come out and said that Louis van Gaal was a better manager, footballing wise. It's sad to see because it's like the only reason this guy was in a job was probably because these guys were playing their hearts out for him and his tactics worked for the first 3 months. But now he's been found out and people are dropping their heads. And you wonder, where does Manchester United look? I mean, even with the Young situation, Young rejected a contract offer, a contract extension for Manchester United.
It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. It just looks like we're starting to go downhill. The only thing that's going to save Ole right now is signings, which he's probably not going to get.
And like I said, I had that opinion. I wouldn't give Oli signings. Like I don't want Oli to be the guy who wants to get his signings in. I don't want that to happen. Personally.
Well, if the rumors about Longstaff and Declan Rice are true, then I would agree with that, because if Oli is going to get money, that's probably who he's going to look towards. A British passport and potential. No experience, no tactical prowess or any sort of technical ability. He's going to look, based on the way he picks his team, you can see it. Juan Mata is a technically gifted footballer. He should be playing a lot more in that cam role, at least off the bench. But instead, he'd rather go with Lingard, who hasn't scored or assisted in nearly a year. Possibly more than a year, actually. And you look at it and you're like, mate, what are you doing? Why would you sign certain... Like the fact that he bought Dan James as a starting winger, a championship winger starting for Manchester United, because the coach wanted him. And the coach says, yeah, this is definitely who I wanted. He takes full accountability for what's happening with the transfers in Manchester United, good or bad. So,
and the thing is, like, we knew it wasn't even him fully with Daniel James. Like Ryan Giggs is the Welsh manager. He was like, listen, there's a player here, he's young. He will be good for United.
Yeah, that's even worse probably. But
to be honest, I feel like
just...
I feel like the Glazers in it would have hit the jackpot. Like, they don't want to spend money, and they found this manager who's so obsessed with youth that it gets to a point where it's delusional. Like, I think they're the happiest people in the world right now because they don't have to spend. And this guy is happy with people like Dan James who start at Manchester United and apparently things that do the job.
I would agree with you if Manchester United was doing okay, but they're not. I mean, Ed Woodward did not look like a happy man during that game. And there's reports coming from, I'm not sure if it's Sky, I'm not sure who the news tabloid is, but Mark Goldbridge was speaking about the fact that Ed Woodward had his hands in his head at halftime. He didn't want to talk to anyone. So I wouldn't go as far as saying they're the happiest people. I think at the beginning of the season, during that 3 months, they would have been the happiest people. But I think now they realize that they've made a mistake and they're stuck because what do? Do they sack this manager and go and spend money on a manager who actually can get the job done?
Yeah, and
or do they keep this guy and run the club into the ground and then sell it?
And they're pulling the wool over the fence eyes aren't going to work anymore. Like even with the fan channels growing everywhere and the education becoming more, you're just not going to get away with it. Leaking fake transfer news now doesn't even entertain the fans.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work anymore. So
you make a point.
Shield of positivity is broken.
They're in a very difficult situation. I feel like with that said, if he loses like the next 3 games, he might be gone.
Yeah, I think
they can't even sign someone as a positive thing because very few players want to come to this club. I mean, if Haaland doesn't want to come to Manchester United, then it's shambles, right?
Yeah, and it's also like, if like Haaland, a guy who played under Oli, is like, no, I don't want to play for him. That says something. You played under Oli and you were like, no. It's okay, I don't want to.
What he's basically saying.
I feel like Oli doesn't have pulling power as well. Like United, you're still Man United, but you like, okay, I'll play for United. Then you look, you're gonna get managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You're like, no ways. Why would I want to do that?
I feel like he's like, I like you, Ole, but like, I don't want any of that mess. That United mess. Time you can forget me.
Yeah. Well, what actually happened is United just didn't want to pay the bloody release clause or put the bloody release clause in the contract. That's what really happened. And then Haaland was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna take my business somewhere else. But I think if someone held a gun to his head and forced him to pick one of those clubs, in hindsight, he probably wouldn't have picked Manchester United anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's frustrating with Manchester United.
Just looking at our targets as well, like Jitson Fernandez seems to be going to West Ham.
I think it's a signed deal. I think I seen it today on Sky that it's done. He's gone to West Ham for 17 mil. You can have him for 17 mil, but this guy will be like, nah, go give Newcastle 30 mil for that bench warmer and you freaking long shite.
Yeah, imagine. We ruled out Ericsson today, so like you just don't see where we're going. And we all know the other rumors are just bullshit. Like Saul, like we all know that's not going to happen. So you just don't know where we're going right now.
Well, unless he's holding a shirt up, mate, and he's signing a contract in one of those cheesy photos, we ain't buying it as a fan base anymore. If you're reading the transfer news and getting excited, like you're gonna your mental health won't be the same after this month if you're a Manchester United fan. And I would advise against it. Warning. Do not get excited until you see them holding the shirt.
Do not believe the speculation.
Please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it's the beginning of the end. It's starting to fall apart.
It is, but Liverpool was in the same situation many years ago. Obviously, Liverpool wasn't the richest club in the world, but they were a pretty successful club. And so you look at where Manchester United was 6 years ago, you look at where they are now, you can almost predict for the next, I would even go as far as 3 years, this club isn't going to change that much. Yeah, they get a new manager in, he plays better football, but I don't think long-term the problems are going to be fixed for a while until the way this club is run from top to bottom has changed. And I'm not just talking about the owners, I just mean like the medical staff, the recruitment staff, the amount of money allocated to certain
We don't even have a director of footballer.
We don't have a director of football. I don't really think we need a director of footballer. I just think we need a manager who comes in and says, I'm in charge of the football stuff. Not you, Ed Woodward, not you. I'm in charge of the transfers. This is my budget.
They can't, because he gives them all these stories like, "Hey, I'm going to give you this much and this much amount of money."
But a manager can say, I'm not. Let me put this as a disclaimer. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know what managers can or can't do, but I'm pretty sure a manager who comes to Manchester United can have it in writing that, hey, I'm not taking this job unless I get this amount of money to spend on this team, and not net spend nonsense. Not this 60 million every transfer window. I'm pretty sure a manager can come into Manchester United and put it in paper and say, hey, I want 10 new players at this value.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
Between
agree
this
with
window
That's
and
it.
that window.
what I was saying is that I don't think he'd accept any manager like that. He'd be like, okay,
I know.
you can
I know.
you can find
Yeah,
a goal.
he probably won't, and that's why. So if someone like Poch was to lay down those terms, he probably won't. But that's what has to happen. Like Poch cannot come into this club and agree to the terms to work under the same terms as Ollie. Like all these people who are Poch in and Ollie out, okay? Poch ain't gonna do anything with Matic and Fred. He ain't gonna make Matic a better footballer. I'm sorry to bust your bubble. He ain't gonna make Lingard better. He ain't gonna make Pereira a top 4 cam. It's not
Yeah.
gonna happen. He ain't
Yeah.
gonna do that. I'm sorry to bust your bubble. He ain't gonna turn Phil Jones into a solid defender because Harry Maguire's injured, and Rojo is always injured, and Bailey's always injured. He's gonna need new players when he comes to this club, and he ain't gonna get that because we sign 3 players every year, 2 players, sometimes even 1 player. We don't sign people in January. We don't do that. So whoever comes into this club has to have those terms and conditions. Otherwise, it's not going to change. It's
And
like, yeah, you were going to say?
to be honest, I feel like managers like Posh are too smart for that. I think they would realize. I don't think he'd agree to anything like that. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if our next manager would be someone in a similar level of stature
Well,
as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah,
I don't,
and that's
I don't
sad
think
to
any
say.
big manager is going to come in and accept this bullshit.
Yeah.
Because Mourinho came out and said it as well. Like, this club does not give you what you need. Like, it's like having, like, if you want any more convincing, if you need any more convincing on this topic, right? It's like having a car, right? You have a car. It has certain parts that work. Obviously, the engine is the most important part. Of course it is. But if the wheel and axle part are broken and the steering wheel's not working properly, you can't drive that car. If the steering wheel, the engine, the turbo, and every other component of that car is not functioning properly, you can fix the steering wheel all you want, but you've got to fix the other components as well. You've got to replace the tires in the car. Same with the
Exactly.
human body. If there's a disease, you can't treat the symptoms. You've got to go to the root cause of it. And it's the same thing with Manchester United. Like, yeah, we can change the manager, but unless he gets players and like decent medical staff, it ain't changing anything. And that's just where we are as a club. It's similar to where Liverpool was because they were hiring a lot of inept medical staff, a lot of inept.
Okay.
I
Those
apologize.
pigeons?
I
Okay.
apologize. I'm
those
surrounded
are
by a
pigeons.
couple of birds.
Yeah, no problem. Even the birds are agreeing with me. Anyways, so yeah, like you've got to change that. And I think Liverpool were in a similar situation when they actually went out and started spending money on decent recruitment, decent medical staff, and made sure everything around the manager was of a level that was competent enough with a big team. The manager's job gets a lot easier. You slot a manager in there, and all he's got to worry about is the football. He knows who's coming in has been taken care of, and he knows that the players that are already there are going to be taken care of. And all he's got to do is work the tactics. And if someone gets injured, he slots someone right in who can do the same thing. United don't have that at the moment. Like just Paul Pogba being injured, you already question whether this team is going to make top 4. Add 5 or 6 players on top of that. Now we're too short-staffed to play a run of games in January. It's embarrassing.
It
It's
is.
embarrassing. But this, you know, we will speak about this in another video, I feel so.
We will. I think that kind of wraps it up, you know.
Prediction?
I forgot about the score predictions, to be honest with you. What are you guys going with?
You know, Norwich don't have Pookie, one of the main strikers. We don't have Maguire. We don't, But for some reason, I feel like it's so bad currently that I feel like we're gonna draw, or maybe Norwich might nick it. So I'm gonna say I want to say 2-2 draw.
Yeah,
I can so see that happen.
it's tough. It's tough. I've also been thinking 2-2 draw. Like it's so gloomy. We're in such a dark place.
And the thing,
Even without
the thing is-
Pookie, I can see them challenging us. I feel like this game is going to be so predictable. We're going to
Yeah.
try counter. It's going to work. They're going to score first. We're going to try come onto them, and it's going to be egg on our face again. And I'm honestly going for a 2-1 win for Norwich.
yeah, and then before
I'd
I
say-
ramble too much, I feel like if Norwich win this game, I mean, if United win this game, I expect it anyways. That's the bare minimum that should be happening. So I won't be happy. I won't be always at the wheel. That's what should happen. So yeah, that's it. I don't care. This is a game you win every freaking day of the week.
To be honest with you, I don't usually give score predictions, but I can easily see a 1-1 draw. I can see an own goal, and I can
Yeah.
see Rashford scoring because he just does that. He's Rashford. He's got 17 goals. I see a 1-1 draw.
There's always room for an own goal when Jones is on the pitch.
Yep. Oh, and Lindelof off corners, because De Gea just doesn't punch stuff, and Lindelof is always there like, what? Where's the ball? Where's the ball? Oh no, it's in the back of the net. I thought you had it covered. I thought you had it covered. Let's go complain about VAR then. Sorry, that got very personal. Anyways, leave a like in the video. Please do subscribe. When Ashley Young refuses to sign a contract with your club, you're doing something wrong. It's reached that stage. My DMs will be open for therapy as usual. Number in the link to my contact details down below. Yeah. Anyways, peace out, people.